How does one write like Vivek Shanbhag?
I don't think anybody can write like anyone else. And which is why there are so many love stories. It is not, the thousands and millions of love stories, because they are also unique to the writer. See, when a lot of people have asked me about the ending of Gachar Gochar, as I've said elsewhere, open ending is something that is not because I don't know how to end the story. It is because I want the reader to take the responsibility, and that itself is a different reading experience.
The author's way of torturing the reader.
Yeah, I know. See, I studied in Kannada medium, and which is why I have a very strong relationship with this language. Growing up with multiple languages is something that I feel has an impact on my sensibilities. I would say what is most appropriate is what a writer is looking for, rather than the beauty of a word. I won't call it regional writing, it's Indian writing. If you say region, that means there is a center.
How can how can an Indian language writing, my bad,
Or in all over India, maybe there are 10 writers who can actually make a living out of writing.
ഈ മഹാരാജ്യത്തിലെ ഒരു ചെറിയ വിഭാഗം ജനങ്ങൾ മാത്രം സംസാരിക്കുന്നതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഭാഷ. പക്ഷേ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഷ സജീവമാണ്, ചലനാത്മകമാണ്.
who has been your writing inspiration? If you can name one person, and what about their style influenced you particularly?
Okay. I do not, it is very difficult to say one person. I mean, I really don't have one person who has inspired me. But then I must say that the inspiration has come from an art form called Yakshagana, which is a performance in Karnataka, and it is a night-long performance. And I have been watching that, I watched that in my childhood for many years, and that is something I feel is an inspiration for me to understand this world differently and also get into writing. So it is a theatre form. It might look strange that it is an inspiration for writing, but it is true. It is true that it is, because the kind of language that they use, it enamored me and interested me in the language itself. So that is, I would say that really something was very inspiring in my childhood to get into arts and reading and all sorts of things.
I think this also shows how art is without boundaries, and how even a performative art can evoke you to write. So, how does one write like Vivek Shanbhag?
I don't think anybody can write like anyone else. It is absolutely so unique because our experiences are unique, our worldview is unique, and which is why there are so many love stories, because it is not, the thousands and millions of love stories, because they are also unique to the writer. So every story, though it may sound like a very common theme, but it is, and we still read them, and I'm sure in time to come people would still write love stories that are so unique. Yeah.
You would have definitely got a lot of both positive and negative feedbacks. What is the best good thing that someone has told you about your writing which has stayed with you for a long time? And also, what is one bad thing that has hurt you? And how, when you get a negative comment, how do you learn to deal with it?
Yeah. See, when a lot of people have asked me about the ending of Gachar Gochar, and in one of the discussions, there was a book club discussion, and there was one lady, 92-year-old, and everybody came up with their own endings for the book. And a lot of people ask me, how does the book end? And I tell them I know as much as they know, right, about the book. And this old lady came up with a solution. She says the lady in the book, she has found somebody and she has gone away and is married, and so she started weaving her own story, and I found very heartening, because the kind of positive thinking that she had, though this is a very gloomy story, and she thought that the kind of woman that has been that I have depicted in my novel, she has her own life and a different. She looked at it differently. So I was very moved by that response.
Does that mean, although you left it quite open-ended, would you have imagined a more gloomier ending for the story?
Yeah, as I've said elsewhere, open ending is something that is not because I don't know how to end the story. It is because I want the reader to take the responsibility to, say something and pick up one of those possibilities, and that itself is a different reading experience. And I'm not the first one to do it. It's a literary tool. So yeah,
Is it the author's way of torturing the reader?
yeah, I know. It is also because we expect the writer to do everything and give it on a platter and not think about ourselves. I'm not blaming, I mean, not that all my books are like this, but then there are certain themes which require this kind of an ending. So it is done with keeping the theme and keeping the story in mind.
How has your upbringing influenced your writing?
See, I studied in Kannada medium, and which is why I have a very strong relationship with this language. But my mother tongue is Konkani, and I grew up with Marathi and Hindi as well, and English in school later on, in my later years. So, growing up with multiple languages is something that I feel has an impact on my sensibilities. Because Konkani at home and Kannada in language of the street, and then later on other languages. There was also Marathi. So it has an impact on the way you see the world, and I feel that it probably has, because it is very difficult to say what has shaped your mind, because there are so many things. And of course, as I said, these art forms and reading also, because I started reading very early in my life. My grandfather was a school teacher. So he taught me to read and write at the age of 4. So, and Kannada is a phonetic language. So when you read Kannada, you may not understand it, but you can read if you know the alphabets. It's not like English, right? So you read. I used to read, and then I wouldn't understand, but wait for him to come and explain to me what that word is. And now when I look back, I feel that it is so wonderful, because the time between my reading the word and knowing the understanding or the real meaning of the word, the mind is not silent. The mind keeps thinking about the possibilities of the word, and what a word, the meaning of that word could change the sentence. Yeah, so it has in a way helped my thinking, and helped the way I look at the language. All this I'm saying now, looking back. Not, I didn't think of all that obviously, as a child, but that became a game between us, and that's how I enjoyed those years.
One word you found so beautiful in the language that you write.
No, it's very difficult. The words are so beautiful. It is nothing like a favorite word. I think it is what I would say. What is most appropriate is what a writer is looking for, rather than the beauty of a word. Because when you construct a sentence and when you want to say something, one is looking at what is most appropriate way to communicate. What is the most appropriate to capture that emotion, capture that thought, and capture that context. So that is what a writer looks for always, and that is the quest really, and not the beauty of the language.
So, being a regional writer yourself, what do you think is the future of regional writing in India?
I would say I won't call it regional writing. It's Indian writing. If you say region, that means there is a center. So there is no center. So it's all Indian languages, and there is a lot of literature coming up in these languages. It's important that we preserve this, especially against the English medium schools, because one must learn English because it's a language of knowledge. At the same time, it must also be our own languages must also be learned, because the kind of literature and the knowledge that is there in these languages, we will lose it otherwise.
How can a regional how can an Indian language writing, be translated to English without losing the essence that the actual language implies? Because sometimes I feel when it's translated, the actual essence of what you might have written about it in Kannada, that might be lost, and that would take away greatly from a reader's experience, who would really want to know what you had implied or what you had written about it.
It is true. See, it is translation is a very difficult thing, and it is almost impossible to translate a book from one language into another completely. And if that was so, then there would not have been two languages would not have existed. The fact that these languages have developed and are there is because they have something very unique to say. So it is a challenge, and it is as a book is unique in Kannada, a book is also unique in English. So it is the other way is also as challenging. I mean, to say that a translation of an English book into Kannada is as difficult. So any translation is difficult, but we must make that effort and try as much as possible to go as close as possible, because otherwise we would not have had access to great writers of the world. I mean, we have read Marquez, we have read Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. I really do not know how they sound in their own language. I really do not know what I have lost. We believe what we have, what is available to us. We believe that that is what they have written. So I think we have to live with this kind of differences and the gaps. There is no other way of. I mean, there is no point in lamenting about it. We should just go on doing it and read as many writers as possible from other cultures and languages.
That's very true. Like, makes total sense. How can an Indian language writer get rich in India?
Get
Rich in India,
rich in the sense money?
money.
I have never thought about it, because I have never thought that in Indian languages, maybe probably in Malayalam or in all over India, maybe there are 10 writers who can actually make a living out of writing. So it is, and I would personally, my preference is that one must not use writing for a living, because it puts a lot of pressure on generating money from your writing. And that's my personal view. You may or may not agree, but then I would like to keep that separate, and that's what I have done in my life. That I had a day job, and then I worked for in an organization, and then I did my writing outside of those hours. And if something is, if you give top priority to literature in your heart, you will make it happen. There is nothing can stop you. If you want to do it, it will get it.
What is your secret of being successful?
I don't know. I love literature. That's my passion, and I read a lot. I don't write a lot, but I read a lot, and it gives me immense joy.
What are you currently reading?
I just finished reading Sarah Rice's book, Raw Amber, which I thought is a wonderful book. I just finished reading it recently, and then I've been traveling, so I had no chance of.
What do you do when you're not writing?
I read. This is the only thing I know. These two things I know. I read or write.